Howdy, howdy. And welcome to... But it was aliens! The extraterrestrial comedy podcast where we probe all sorts of alien shenanigans to determine whether those shenanigans really were of extraterrestrial origin. We take it in turns to host this show, as we do most things in life, and this week it's my turn to give. I'm your host, or giver, Kev, aka Greybeard. This week's co-host, or receiver, is Granville Moonwalker. Are you ready to receive this alien load in your ears, Mr. Mooney?
I'm ready for this eargasm.
Then let's fill them up. For this week's probe, we are heading back to the site of one of our most legitimate probes.
Back. Way back.
Not so much way.
Of our legitimate probes.
More across the world, to Brazil. Around June 2021, late one evening, I stumbled across a document reported by the Twitter user and UFO researcher Roni Vernet. I saved the PDF and scribbled a few details with intent to come back and look at this one more thoroughly later. I did just that 5 months later, and details on this one have pretty much vanished. So thank the Lord's arse that I saved that PDF. This PDF is actually an official police report made in 2008 by one Eisenhower Gerk Austriaco, a Brazilian military police officer of Minas Gerais state. I've pronounced that 100% accurately, allegedly, truthfully. Shortly after this 2008 translated report came out in 2021, that Pentagon UAP report you may have heard of hit the news, and this one kind of faded into the background until today. Just to add, I will list the names at the end, but these events were witnessed by the police, the military, and civilians.
By names, is it just one name?
No.
Just having a...
I'm going to name and shame everyone who saw this one. I'm just letting you know at the start so you don't start shitting on it.
Okay,
We've got lots of witnesses, genuinely.
Can you just tell me again who made the report?
Roni Vernet, you mean, sorry? Or do you mean...
No, not...
Oh,
not,
the police report,
yeah.
sorry. Eisenhower Gerk Austriaco. Eisenhower Gerk Austriaco. Do you like Gerk?
Gerk?
Because I'm going to refer to Gerk as Eisenhower throughout this probe. Because I can pronounce that. Sort of.
How many... So we're going to have a list of names at the end.
Yeah.
Is there more than 10?
Around that amount.
By around... Do you mean...
You're so suspicious that when I come at you genuinely, you just can't trust it.
0.
We'll count them at the end.
Okay.
But it's not one. Man, you're getting old. I heard you crack there.
That's my ankle.
Oh, and again. Hello, my name is Granville Moonwalker. I hosted, but it was aliens.
I'm an old granny.
It was 73 years ago. Claudio City, Minas Gerais, Brazil.
Jack.
Now you're doing Titanic. Now we've moved on. You want to go back to Titanic and mine that well, do you?
Try me like one of your French girls.
Sweaty Betty. Mr. Moonwalker's doing the pose that I believe Kate Winslet strikes as painted by Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio. You look beautiful, sir.
Well, thank you.
So yes.
Now sketch me, bitch.
If I draw it, you're going to come out looking like one of the twits. The 19th of November, 2008, 10 p.m, 2200 hours. Brazil were about to kick off against Portugal in an international friendly football match, which Brazil won 6-2, by the way. Ms. Renata Veloso looked out of the window and saw something in the sky. Something like a lightning bolt.
It was Ronaldinho coming down from the fucking heavens.
I'd imagine Ronaldinho was already on the pitch playing football at that point. But Ms.
He was a
Veloso,
sub in that game.
because it was a friendly.
And they subbed him on.
When you
Drop
Google
the
it,
sky.
you'll see that he scored all 6. Miss Veloso, unable to believe her eyes, called Eisenhower, and considering the commotion, Eisenhower calmly walked towards the window, expecting to see absolutely nothing. Looking out of the window, Eisenhower, however, was indeed greeted by the sight of a huge, luminous hexagon together with 2 smaller spherical objects which were described to be rotating under the hexagon's orbit. One of those smaller ones was silver and the other was red hot.
How do they know that those 2 items were rotating under the hexagon's orbit? How do they know that hexagon wasn't rotating above their orbit?
Well, I believe it was stationary above. What? You've not... What? What was that?
That was checkmate, bitch.
That's not how you checkmate. For reference of our listeners, Mr. Moonwalker is thrusting his hands towards his penis at me, saying, "Checkmate, bitch." Pretty sure they don't do that in chess tournaments.
No, they should do. That'd make them more interesting.
Imagine that. And Mr. Walker is placing the pawn. Fucking pawn.
Fucking prawn. I would have done that if I'd have won a chess tournament. But I didn't win one. Came second.
And that is a checkmate. Checkmate, bitch!
So whereabouts was this lady? And whereabouts was Eisenhower? Were they in the same building?
No,
or-
Eisenhower is a police officer in the police station. Lady is in her house in Minas Gerais.
And how far away were they from each other?
A good 15-minute drive-ish, give or take.
So you're telling me that essentially hundreds upon thousands of people could have looked out their window and saw this?
Well, you got to
You're
think.
telling me that we only have around 10 witnesses.
That's not what I'm telling you. You'll have to wait for the details. Yeah. Checkmate, bitch. You regret that, don't you? Eisenhower went to investigate. Of course he did. This is a copper after all. Out on the streets, Eisenhower approached the Nossa Senhora Aparecida church, and as he did, the streetlights began cutting out block by block.
I mean, that's just
That's pretty freaky.
proper horror movie
Yeah,
style, isn't it?
absolutely.
Did they make the sound effect as well if it goes
Dum, 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 dum.
or were they only going off as he went by block?
Yeah. I'm just thinking, you've just made me go on a tangent in my mind. I've seen this happen once in real life, and it doesn't make that sound in real life, I'm afraid to say. It just
No.
goes zzz.
Yeah, because here in England we have a ridiculous fucking rule where all streetlights go off at midnight.
Save the energy, save the world, son.
And
It's not ridiculous at all. Unless you're walking home.
yes,
Then it's ridiculous. It's all about
and
us.
admittedly, we used to go out clubbing and then walk home, which is a good 45-minute walk home. So all of a sudden, you'd be walking home, and all of a sudden, doof, 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 doof. The lights start going out. You're like, fuck this. There's been
I'm
a
in
few times
danger.
I've held my keys like in my hand, so my keys stick out on my knuckles.
Well, that's slightly vicious, isn't it?
You never know, someone jumps out. Boom. Give them a right hook.
Me, I walked home happily eating my food,
Yeah, you fucking
smile
did,
on my
because,
face.
Like, 85% of your walk home was my walk home.
Got my bodyguard with me.
And then I had
Not a
another,
worry in the world.
I had another like 25, half hour walk home.
At this point, Eisenhower may or may not have absolutely spoiled his keks and dialed 190 for emergency military police support. The call was answered by Corporal Barbosa
Oh, did he have a monkey? And did he have a giant hat?
and a ship.
You best start believing in aliens.
You're in one!
You are one.
Not quite sure where my accent went there. Aye, lad! But a corporal is basically a senior officer or supervisor in the police. So Corporal Barbosa. No, my voice doesn't go there. It automatically goes to other pirates. A military vehicle.
Barbosa.
You sound like Steed. Well, you are related after all.
Aye, Jack.
A military vehicle was scrambled to the Bella Vista neighbourhood, consisting of personnel Corporal Rabilo, Lieutenant Corporal Francisco, and Lieutenant Corporal Balbino. What are you laughing at?
Balbino.
Why is Balbino funnier? It's a person's name, darn it. Balbino.
So they sent the O. No, they didn't. They sent the squad.
They sent the squad.
I was going to say the O squad, but then it's Barbosa.
The B team. They sent the B team. Barbosa was insatiably hungry.
Francisco and Balbino.
Indeed.
He had a whole bushel of apples. Jack. Hey, that'd be the same land we left you on before, Jack.
Did you see an alien? Excuse me, my name's not Jack. Why do you keep calling him Jack? No, Jack. Tell me about this creature you saw.
Oh, I'm going to try and do a perfect Barbosa impression.
Go on then.
And I'm just going to do it, like, for the rest of the year.
The rest of the year?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, every random point, I'm just going to pop up as, like, Barbosa.
You'll never remember this.
And I'll just call you Jack. Probably won't. I'll forget it by the time we've done this one.
Yep.
So, probers, remind me every single week to do my Barbosa impression.
Don't remind him.
Don't remind him. Or else you'll have to deal with me doing it too, Jack. And I'm shit.
Okay, carry on.
As the evening went on to morning, things continued. Well, actually, they got a bonkers.
Boink, boink.
The translation isn't the smoothest here, so I'll fill in a couple of blanks, but basically... What's funny about that? What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you, Jack? Are you going to share?
Carry on.
When the military Mitsubishi 4x4 arrived, it didn't see lights. It saw small humanoids. Well, actually, it chased the little buggers at 12 miles per hour. The 4x4 was led out into the cane fields, where these strange little humanoids were slipping in and out of the reeds, almost as if this was a game or a horror movie, as you mentioned earlier. More military were, of course, deployed.
We've got a problem, Jack.
Legit question.
Yes.
What stopped the Mitsubishi 4x4s from going faster than 12 miles an hour?
Well, they probably didn't want to run over them. How fast can you run?
That's not to say you couldn't go quicker. Scoop them up in a net.
Maybe they didn't have authorization to engage in that manner.
Then why are they chasing them?
To see what happens and to seek authorization to take action depending on what they do.
What if they're like
Maybe it was an observationary mission.
whack-a-moles? They pop up, they go down.
Gong.
This is literally, if you stopped and didn't chase them, they'd just stay still. Didn't think of that, did they?
Maybe they didn't.
Checkmate, bitch.
Checkmate, Jack.
Ja.
Do you like chess?
So yeah, in my mind, I was leaning more towards this is kind of like a horror movie. We had the lights shutting off, dum dum dum,
I was about to say.
and then we've had them running in and out of the canes in a field.
Is it a cane or a cornfield?
Similar.
Both horrendous.
Yeah, you don't
Both
really
places
want to.
I don't want to be at night.
You don't want to see strange figures running in and out of a field.
If I saw like a cane field or like a sugar cane field or a cornfield and I saw rustling, I'd just be like, nope, I'm out.
Or would you put your keys between your knuckles?
I'm still not walking.
Checkmate, Jack.
Nope, I'm out.
Throughout this night and morning, many armed officers would see and chase the humanoids at different times in 3 different vehicles, but it wasn't just the military. A lady from Formiguia village opened her door only to be greeted by the sight of these small beings whizzing about her backyard. Alongside that, the red sphere was hovering about 2,600 feet above the garden in the sky at the lady's estimate. This
That's
object...
very accurate for an approximate.
Well, she didn't go into the single digits, did she? This object, as with the others, moved at ridiculous speeds. It was as if they didn't obey the laws of physics, bombing forward in the blink of the eye, but then stopping instantly with no braking distance. They just jolted across the sky as many witnesses looked on.
What was there in the sky that she was able to look up and estimate 2,600 feet? Because she must know something that is about that high for her to look up and go, it's about 2,600 feet.
How high is an aeroplane?
I don't know. That's why I'm not going to approximate.
Maybe she did. We don't know what this lady was into. She could have been into
That's why I'm asking.
aeroplaning, gliding, parachuting, helicoptering,
That
chopping,
is why I'm asking.
dry humping.
I would also like to state ridiculous speeds. Is it fast? Is it slow?
Ridiculously slow. It's creeping like a snail in the sky. No, fast.
Blink of an eye, it could be from like there to
Forgive
there,
me.
and you just assume it stopped.
Forgive me for not specifying for your fussy little mind.
It's not mine. You started this shit.
How did I start it? Where? Name the episode. Checkmate. Biatch!
Well, there's a lot of chasing, not a lot of catching going on here, so these military folk would be shit at it.
Shit at catching criminals.
They're shit at the game it as well. Tag, anything like that. They can't catch these little bastards. They've even got vehicles that can go faster than these can run, and they still can't catch them.
But again, you can't necessarily engage in the way you're suggesting unless a crime has taken place.
But what you do is you get
There's no
2 vehicles
authorization
and you
or
just,
cause for deadly force.
drive right beside them, you pen them in.
But then what if that is seen as aggressive by these unusual creatures they can't identify?
They're chasing them now. If that's not seen as aggressive, then
Could
I
just
don't
be
know what
playing
is.
it.
Again, they're shit at it.
As the UFO jolted past streetlights, the lights would explode to leave behind darkness. With all these witnesses, we of course have a description of the humanoids. These were luminous beings that floated above the ground. They had arms, legs, and an oval head, but no feet, fingers, eyes, or noses.
Ooh, like jellyfish.
Good shout. I suppose if you can hover, why would you need feet? Meanwhile, just going back to that luminosity, whilst the beings were luminous, they didn't actually light up their surroundings. So they were luminous, yet didn't illuminate.
So was our light blinding them?
Not that I've seen, no.
So when our lights went out, were they easier to see than if our lights were on? So if our
They were
lights
just
were
illuminated.
on, I was going to say, would they look translucent?
They would just light against whatever they were against. yet didn't light up whatever is around them, just they were lit.
Oh, okay.
The officers had cameras. This was 2008 after all.
Why is it whenever we do a case that's in the 2000s, my brain just automatically thinks, we don't have the technology to have pictures of them?
Every time.
It was 2021, Jack.
Jack! We didn't have cameras then, Jack.
They took photos of the beings. Unfortunately, the beings didn't show up on camera, almost as if they were on a different plane. Sergeant Waldir Arujo Silva tried everything to capture them. Flash on, flash off, landscape mode, zoom, everything. Even tried a filter. It was still 2 years before Instagram, where you can find us at But It Was Aliens Podcast. So unfortunately, he didn't actually try a filter, but he tried everything else.
I reckon if he had an iPhone 14 back then, that would have worked. Do you reckon he tried it on one of them old school Nokias that we had? Or
Which ones? We had many a Nokia back in the day.
the really weird one that first done video?
Was that
The
like
weird
the
square-shaped one?
Yeah. Oh, that was a beast of a
That was a
phone.
bad boy, that was. These ones that were luminous,
Yes.
were they the same ones that were being chased through the cornfields?
Yes.
So they've got no feet.
Mm-hmm.
How do they gather speed?
How does a
'Cause I-
hoverboard gather speed?
I can understand, like, the floating,
Right.
but then it's getting faster that I can't...
Well, maybe
wrap
it's
my head around.
maintaining a constant 12 miles per hour.
Or they let up a squeaker.
I don't know. Okay. I understand what it's got to do with speed, actually.
Okay.
Did you shit, Jack?
Jack. Or they can not see our air, but they move through air the way fish move through water.
Yeah.
Same way a
Maybe
jellyfish
there's-
would like float and they can pick up speed because they use the water to...
Maybe
And their
linking back
body
to my earlier suggestion, they are in another plane, and that extra
Yeah.
plane of space that we can't perceive is more like water to them. So they move in our plane as they do.
They can produce force and shoot themselves.
Maybe.
Propel themselves forward.
Whatever was affecting the cameras appeared to be affecting other things too. Officers begun complaining of intense headaches, but not only that, body aches too.
It's because they've done some bloody work for a change.
Obviously, this was accompanied, that's incredibly rude, sir, by an intense fear because nobody knew what these little glow-in-the-dark bastards were. Eisenhower reported that his arm was so weak that he couldn't reach for his weapon, his pistol,
Weights then.
his piece. As the military watched on from the bushes around a lake, the creatures would begin digging into the ground as if they were taking samples. As the military disturbed the beings once more, they pegged it again.
Do you think, so were they only getting headaches when they were near them?
Yes.
So like I mentioned before, how they float and they can propel themselves
Yeah,
forward.
jellyfish.
Do you think they're getting headaches because of the frequency of whatever they're using to push themselves forward? They're too close to that?
Maybe, yeah. Maybe the presence of those beings is pulling part of the plane that they exist on into our perception and our minds just can't take it.
Or it's just at a high frequency that our...
Maybe
Brains
they've got
can't
really,
handle it.
really high-pitched voices that pop our ears.
They're just like going about their business. Gotta go to work. Work all day. We want samples, hey. And that's just like too high for our brains to comprehend. And we're going, ah. And they're just, stage 1. Soil.
Possible.
Stage 2. Stage 3.
Perfect.
The officers returned to the site once daylight broke to investigate if any evidence had been left behind. The officers had already been questioning whether any of this could be real, and that feeling only increased when they discovered that the lake wasn't even there anymore. What? Had it been there at all? Confused, the officers went looking for witnesses, and yes, indeed, they found several.
So was this lake just dried up?
Overnight?
Or how big was the lake?
Lake-sized? I mean, lakes are pretty big,
What-
but I can't tell you because the lake wasn't there anymore.
How was
so
the
how do we
moon?
measure it?
How was the moon?
How was the moon?
Like,
it was
the
in a
moon
good
can
mood.
affect the tide.
Well, not if the lake's gone.
Were they in the same place
Yes.
where the lake was?
Absolutely. They know where they're from.
How many mushrooms had they had? What were they smoking?
They're
Did they
officers
take-
of the law.
Okay.
They're honourable.
2008, we have camera phones. Did they take pictures of the lake that had vanished?
I doubt it, because once they started getting near them, they scarpered, didn't they? So what's there to take a picture of? It's just a lake there.
It's,
They weren't
I'm
expecting
sorry.
the lake to bloody disappear.
I'm sorry. If we go over that bridge of ours that's constantly bloody closed because people keep having accidents on it because they can't fucking drive, and there was no water under there, I'm taking a picture of that. I'm not just going, "Ooh, what happened to the water?" Oh!
That's a river, though. That's not a little lake.
Oh, it's the same shit. I'm still taking a picture of it.
Same shit. All right. There's a park near where my family live.
Mm-hmm.
The one that's more suitable for children to
The
play
one
in.
where
Yes.
a friend of ours lost his brand
Yes.
new shoe right in the middle of it and had to get in and swim.
One of the lakes there is not there anymore.
I'd take a picture of that shit.
Have you taken a picture of that shit?
I didn't even know it was missing. You did. You didn't take a picture.
You must have
Loser.
been there.
Checkmate, bitch.
I didn't take a picture because people don't do that. Checkmate, biatch.
Well, they should do.
Checkmate, bitch. Do you know how to play chess?
Yeah. Literally said I came second in a tournament, and that wasn't me joking.
Yeah, but I don't know who this tournament was with.
It was held at a rival school.
So it was with children then. Checkmate, bitch. Mr. Moonwalker shows up to a tournament with a bunch of children. These are my fucking rivals. I'm gonna kick your asses. Checkmate, bitch. You're gonna eat my ass.
I was also but a child. I was one of the youngest there.
Nope.
Checkmate.
You said too much. Moving on. The officers returned to the site once daylight broke. Oh shit. I'm going over the same bit again, aren't I?
Yep.
Stop getting me distracted. Right. The military.
Distracted by kids.
You're the one that played with them? The military would interview those civilians about the streetlights.
I was about to say, it doesn't count if you're the same age.
Indeed, the lights that flew over the city.
Oh, you might
Right,
have to
so-
start that again.
They're interviewing civilians. That's all you need to know. It's fine. Several witnesses would report, you're dying, I'm just going to move on. Several witnesses would report that they experienced exactly what the military had experienced. Not only this, but the experiences had other unusual and unexplainable, mind-blowingly unexplainable details. For example, one witness reported that when they opened their door to look at the lights in the sky, they felt a rush of warm air enter their home. Hot air entering the house. It's dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. I started chuckling there because I thought of your early comment about what if their propulsion method is farts. My mind connected the dots. Others reported that their vehicles having problems with their electrics and cutting out which is something we've heard a lot with abduction cases.
Like an EMP blast.
Yeah. All who saw the beings, including the military, were sleepy, and some even had a sense of levitation. Cats and dogs, son.
So warm air rushing in.
Yeah.
So essentially they've just opened their... What time of year is this?
It was 2008. Did I say the date?
I think Portugal...
November, so it's cold outside. 19th November, in fact.
So it's cold outside.
Cold outside.
Well, you say it's cold outside. We have no idea what it's like in Brazil. this time of
Okay,
year.
it's probably kind of warm outside.
I doubt they're having snow.
It was British weather that day in Brazil. We have that on good authority from me.
So not only do you have the natural warm weather, you have Portugal playing Brazil.
Brazil.
Is that in Brazil or in Portugal?
Brazil.
So it's in Brazil.
Yeah.
So you've got extra heat from so many people at the stadium. You've got the extra heat from people's TVs, radios, everything being on to watch, listen to the game. And what they've done is just open their door and got a blast of heat. It's like when you go into a building on a really hot day and you walk in and you're like, fuck me, it's hot in here. You get that blast of heat. It's just like that. Or when you're in the building all day, you're in an air-conditioned room and you walk out and it's like, fuck, it's hot.
That's some interesting science you're referring to there.
Oh.
You're a bit ahead of the game, though. We're not on that section yet, so I'm going to scratch all that from the records. None of that was discussed, folks.
I'm going to add all that back in. Checkmate, bitch.
As I said, all this happened in 2008, and other than the official report officially provided by the Honourable and Trustworthy Roni Vernet, or Vernet, there is nothing out there on this one. This is the only report we have. One lone researcher uncovered this report, translated it, published it, and left it there for me to drunkenly find and share with you. That's more than a decade ago now, so tracking down witnesses is next to impossible. However, if you wanted to be a pessimistic prick,
I do.
you could argue that only one account of this event makes it unbelievable. Where is the news coverage, the live YouTube video, the further statements from the witnesses named? This is all we have.
I was going to say,
Reverse checkmate, bitch!
I'd be very surprised if we had live YouTube video if we couldn't get pictures on a camera anyway. Checkmate, bitch.
So I turn pessimistic and you're turning back.
So we also wouldn't have news coverage because cameras wouldn't pick it up. But that also leads to the fact that it could be more bullshit.
I call bullshit.
That was less biblical than usual.
I know.
I feel like you lost your way a little bit there.
It's because I have a cough.
Whoa, you didn't tell me that.
Stay back.
Roni himself tweeted on the Twitter that all credit for this one goes to researchers Edison Boaventura, sorry.
Is his nickname Ace?
I hope so. Ace the Snake. And Paulo Werner from the Brazilian UFO magazine OVNI Pesquisa.
We now know it's bullshit.
Why?
There is no way that Werner hits the mark.
No one's going to get that. But OVNI Pesquisa basically means, when translated, UFO search. That's a bi-monthly magazine with a scientific basis. Roni is still about on the Twitter, so they haven't whacked him so far. They whacked him.
Do you follow him?
No. I'm always a little bit hesitant to follow people that we've covered in episodes, because it might not go down well.
Fair.
There's one who I do follow because they followed us, who has been in a few newspaper articles, and it's very clearly bullshit. But I'm back and forthing with myself about covering them because it's utter bullshit. But yeah, it's a bit close to home, perhaps. For due diligence, I checked him out, and Roni is genuinely a nice, reasonable chap with a bit of a passion for UFOs, so Roni is credible. Meanwhile, due to the differing nature of sightings, I don't think we can attribute these to mistaken weather phenomenon as we sometimes have in the past, nor can we consider mental health difficulty as a factor. Can you explain away any of this, Mooney?
I call bullshit.
That's not explaining it away, though, is it?
But
It was aliens.
so this could be a made-up story, and it could just be it was heard through word of mouth, or it's a story that Ronnie got hold of. But at the same time, could it be the fact that they are so into UFOs and have a passion for UFOs that they believe that this story is real without
Yeah.
checking
Looking for a story when it isn't really there.
the evidence itself? Just seeing this and listening to people's testimonies, people that are really passionate about UFOs and believe that UFOs are real, like us, except we look at it with a skeptical eye.
Yeah.
There are some that just want to believe as much as possible, so any story that they hear, they believe and immediately think that the government is trying to hide it, rather than it being a story that is in actual factual bullshit.
Yeah, you got to look at the facts.
Indeed.
As promised, witnesses to today's file included the Honourable Ms. Renata Veloso, Sergeant Waldir Arujo Silva, Sergeant William Alcione Alves da Silva, Corporal Hamilton Rabilo, Corporal Sirio Barbosa, Lieutenant Corporal Heverton Francisco, Lieutenant Corporal Balbino, Ms. Irma de Fatima, Ms. Susie Ann, so good they only named her once, Mr. Early Geraldo, he's always first to everything, and yeah, that's everyone. So that's actually everything I have for you, but some real legitimate witnesses there.
So we've got all of these people that have witnessed it. Have they been interviewed by anyone else, or is it just this whole account that we have from
This
them?
is it, one police account. That's it. So it's either,
Are these people real?
I was about to say, it's either they don't exist, they do exist, but no one's gone after it because it got superseded by the big Pentagon story and people just weren't picking this one up, and they might not for several years yet. Apart from us, let's go and interview people. Or they've all been whacked.
Do you also think that sometimes the police could just be fucking with people?
That's never occurred to me. No.
That's just like the way they see it is they have constant people that are constantly calling them up about UFOs, and we've just seen this, we've just seen that, we've just seen this. So they've just decided they're going to put a report out, a fake report, and be like, this really happened. And they'll be like, let's see how many of these people actually believe this happened, and run with it. And then what if they go, well, if these people run with it, we know it's fake, we won't listen to them. And then if the ones that normally run with it or call us don't say they believe it or that they didn't see it or anything like that, and then they just believe not any call that comes in, but they take them a little bit more seriously. Could be their way of,
Keeping themselves entertained.
pretty much.
Right, that is everything. So let me summarise today's case. We've covered Roni Vinay's public releasing of an official November 2008 Brazilian report by a military officer. This report detailed that just as Brazil were kicking off against Portugal, easy for me to say, a lady reported something in the sky. Officer Eisenhower looked out and saw spheres in the sky, so Eisenhower hit the streets. Streetlights were exploding before going out, and at that point, the military police officer called the military police. You didn't realise that at the time, did you? No. When they turned up, they didn't just see UFOs, they saw luminous humanoids. 3 separate squadrons of military police in vehicles chased the beings into sugarcane fields. It wasn't just the military. A local opened her back door to be greeted by these buggers. They tried to take photos, but the beings didn't show up. Meanwhile, those who encountered the luminous beings with arms, legs and oval heads would begin to ache and got sleepy. The beings were followed to a lake where they took samples before being disturbed. When the police went back to the lake the next day, there wasn't even a lake there. Some witnesses felt warm air brush past them into their house, and others experienced vehicles cutting out. Roney credits UFO Search magazine with breaking this one. That's the lot. Anything you want to double back over there?
So we've got a lot of witnesses that may or may not exist.
Yep, pretty much.
We've got... Is there any report by the other military police to
No, just
like,
this.
say that?
And like I say, when I
confirm
looked
they
back
chased
for this
them?
one to get some more info when it came to writing it, the initial report was just gone. Everything was gone. It could be back out there by the time this episode releases, who knows, but suspicious, to say the least.
Very odd. Piques my curiosity with the luminosity of these creatures.
It tickles me, the concept of, like, you call a police officer, you've been burgled, the police officer turns up, he's like, bloody hell, mate, you've been bloody burgled, let's call the police. What? It's literally what I called you here for. He's like, fuck that. You want to get a real copper here?
It's him calling back up, really, isn't it? You're never going to fucking believe this.
So, on that note, are you saying that it was aliens?
I don't know.
What?
Fucking course I'm not. Checkmate, bitch.
What are you checkmating over?
That you believed I would.
You think it's good to set an example of lying to people?
Shut up, bitch. No, it's not aliens. I think it's a fake story that got out, but I don't know how the fake story got out. And I think someone who is just really passionate about UFOs and wants other people to believe they're real as much as they believe they're real has taken it and made something more from it.
Yeah. I'm not saying that it was aliens either. This file, it's a lot. The events themselves and the way this is put together in the report is quite convincing, especially the nature in which it's been leaked. This is a military document. Less convincing is that this is basically a one-man job. It comes down to a matter of faith. Will you put your faith in Roney? Mr. Moonwalker didn't.
Not today, no.
No, and to be fair, we have covered cases in the past where military documents have been forged, so who's to say that this is 100% legit?
Exactly.
Or that the police weren't having a giggle, as Mr. Moonwalker theorised earlier. Just like to see a little bit more. Just a bit more. That's a wrap for today. Thank you for listening to But It Was Aliens. If you'd like to listen to some more, for example, what we make of real life vampire cases, demons, or sexual healers, you can sign up and become a Patreon of the podcast over at the podcast over at patreon.com/But It Was Aliens, where each month we release a bonus episode, a side probe, if you will, into paranormal events to discover the truth in the pads. The punk's pads. If you don't want to hear more, but you do want to direct our probes in a particular direction, you can message me on the Twitter at at butitwasaliens and let us know your suggestion. If you just want to share paranormal memes for shits and giggles, then Facey B is the place to be. We have a private Facebook group called Extraterrestrial Towers, where all friendly, strange and unusual souls are welcome.
Especially you, Jack.
You can also get to the group through the But It Was Aliens Facebook page. Basically, Google But It Was Aliens podcast and you'll find us some way or another. That's the lot for today's episode, so until next time. If taking it one day at a time is a choice, how do you take it 2 days at a time? Please advise. The truth is up there. Hashtag Jack.
Checkmate, bitch.
Checkmate. I'm in your fucking mind. You want to checkmate? I'll check you, mate. Psh. That was a checkmate. This is the end of the episode. While you're still listening,